my story actually started a long time ago, the day I turned 5. And I was having a birthday party, as most little kids do. But that day changed me forever. My brother ended up being killed that day in a bicycle accident. And so from that moment on, it changed everything I thought, everything I did, and the way I lived for the rest of my life, until about the last 5 years. That was the day that I moved from a place of love to living from a place of fear. And every decision I made from that moment on came from a place of fear. The way I raised my children, the way I drove, just everything. Everything came from a place of fear from that day on. And then about 5 years ago, I had a changing moment. I was downsized from a job that I thought I loved, but that was killing me. And everybody thought I'd be angry. I was making really good money. I had a beautiful bonus package. I had a full expense account, and I would have stayed there until retirement. The flip side of that is I was losing weight every day. I had a rash from my ankles to my waist, and I was going bald. I had lost huge chunks of my hair, and it was all due to stress. But I had picked up this belief way back when I was 5 that there had to be struggle and sacrifice in life. You couldn't just get something given to you easily. You had to work hard for it. Because that's the only way I could make sense of the world after my brother was killed. And the day he died, I had made a pact with God that I would never ask for another thing as long as he kept my family safe. And so when I say it changed everything about my life, everything, I didn't any longer think the way a young child thought. And that's a very early age to have that change happen. So when I was downsized, something clicked. And I just thought, there's got to be more to life than this. This can't be all there is. And so I took a few months off, and I just worked in my gardens out in the backyard. My daughter was getting married the next year. And I just spent a lot of time thinking about what I wanted to be, what I wanted to do moving forward. So I took a look at all the jobs I'd ever had and kind of made a list of the things that I really loved about each of those jobs and came up with a coach. And so I thought, well, if I want to be a coach, I should probably hire one first and see if I really like it. So I hired a coach. And in such a short time, my life changed dramatically. And so I thought, yeah, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And then as I started to start my own business, I started working with women. And it was women who had been through some trauma of some sort. That's who was attracted to me. And what I started to realize over time is that women didn't always live a life of choice. And in this world, we use money. That's our currency. That's what buys things. And money equals choice, and choice equals freedom. And there are far too many women living in this world that don't have choice and freedom. And so that's what sparked me to become a money coach. And just this year, I have created what feels like a movement, and it's called Women of Wealth. And it's about how you can become a woman of wealth, because we have both poor people and rich people that are not wealthy. And there's more to being wealthy than money. It's about your health, it's about your mental health, it's about choice, it's about freedom, it's about money, it's about how you see the world, and whether you see it from a place of love or a place of fear. And so I don't know where I'm being led with this movement, but I do know I'm following, and it will become whatever it needs to become. To me, it's got to spread, because we need to change the way the world is. There's far too much oppression in the world, and not just in third world countries, but here in Ontario and in Canada. And we need to change that. But we need to change it from a place of compassion, not of blame, not of shame. And so whatever this movement grows into, it's coming from a place of making sure that the people in my own family, my own lineage, backwards and forwards, break the chains of poverty mindset. And that doesn't just mean money. It means how we think about money. Because again, you can have money and still feel poor. And you can be poor and not feel poor. So it's not about money. It's about mindset. And what that creates how you view the world. So if I go back in time again, I've always had a great faith. And most kids at age 7, are riding bikes and spending time outside, playing hockey, skating, swimming, whatever they're doing. When I was 7, I asked my parents to create a prayer corner for me. So they built this little corner, and I had my Bibles, and I had my palm sprigs, and I had my holy water and my rosary. And every day I would, morning and night, spend time at my prayer corner. And so now, many, many years later, I realized I have the very same setup in my office now, only it's called an altar. And I have a mesa, and I have a mala. And I still do a lot of the same things. I do affirmations, and I do prayers. And those things create freedom as well. Freedom of what we think, freedom of how we see the world, freedom in how we choose to believe what we see in the world. Because there's really no truth. There's your truth, and there's your truth, and there's your truth, and there's my truth. And everybody sees their own truth through their own past experiences. And so we can choose to change what we see. We can choose to change our perspective. And we can choose to become a woman of wealth, no matter how much money is in our pocketbook. But we can also choose to change how much is in our pocketbook. We can understand that money is energy, and we can create as much energy and attract as much energy into our lives as we want. And so, because of family situations within my own family, I have chosen to focus on this movement and work with women to help them see the world in a different way. And you may think that that's a big jump from healing to money, but I can tell you so much healing is done through money. Because again, when we have choice, we can see the world differently. And that's a very healing thing to have happen. I have a block. Again, I just want to share with you, my husband's family is his dad was one of 17 siblings. My dad's was one of 11. They got married, my mom and my dad, and then my husband and I got married, and it was the two biggest families from Bruce County coming together. And when you come from families of that size, there's a lot of poverty mindset happening. And my dad tells a story. He was born in 1938, and they were definitely, still living in the after effects of the Depression. And he tells a story of his uncle who lived in town coming to our house, or coming to his house when he was young, and his mom giving the uncle the last loaf of bread. And as a 6-year-old, standing there seeing that and taking all of that emotion in. And that is how the chains of poverty mindset continue from generation to generation. Something so simple that you can see as a child happen, and his mother maybe fully well knew she had more flour, but as a child he didn't know that. All he saw was the last loaf of bread leaving the door. And so we all carry these things because our DNA is made up from the last 6 generations. And so all of us have come from poverty at some stage along that line, with all the war and depression and recessions that we've gone through. And so we hand this down generationally. And so that is really what I want to do, is to help women out in the bigger world, as well as my own lineage, to be able to break that poverty mindset and live a life of choice and then freedom. So thank you, and thank you, Lisa, for having me.